Dear students, today we have come to the last part of this chapter. So before discussing the new topic, let us at first have a quick revision of what we have studied till now. So we were discussing about the sexual reproduction process in case of flowering plants, and in that we know that the flower is the reproductive organ of the flowering plant body. A flower undergoes three main events, that is the pre-fertilization event, pollination and post-fertilization event. During the pre-fertilization event, both the male and the female reproductive part, that is anther and the ovule, it undergoes two processes. One is the process of formation of spore, which we call it to be microsporogenesis in case of anther, and megasporogenesis that takes place within the ovule. And sporogenesis process, it continues with the process of formation of gamete that we call it to be microgametogenesis in case of the formation of the two male gametes, and megagametogenesis in case of formation of the embryo sac within the ovule. So after the completion of these two steps during the pre-fertilization event, our next very important event that took place, it was pollination. So it was the transfer of pollen grain to the stigma of the flower, which is the part of the female reproductive organ. And after pollination happened the fertilization event. So during the fertilization event, the male and the female gamete, they fused with each other, and then comes the post-fertilization event. During the post-fertilization event, we see four major changes, that is the development of the endosperm, which is the formation of the nutritive tissue, development of the embryo, that is when the zygote, it gets developed into embryo which holds the new plant body, that is the development of the embryo, and finally comes the development of the seed and fruits. Seeds, they are the mature state of an ovule, and fruit, that is the mature state of an ovary. So this is what we have discussed till now. In today's class, we are going to discuss about a very important step that a flowering plant undergo. Not all the flowering plants, but some flowering plants, they undergo, where they do not complete the process of sexual reproduction, or they do not complete these following steps, and this we call it apomixis. Here, apomixis is the asexual reproduction mode of flowering plants, where they do not form any gamete. That is why the word is applied to be apomixis. The meaning of apo is without, and mixis means mixing. Now let's try to understand what is apomixis. Apomixis, it is a mode of asexual reproduction which does not involve formation of zygote through gametic fusion. So till now we know that flowering plants, they undergo a mode of reproduction which is called the sexual reproduction, where it is important to form two types of gametes in the two reproductive parts. And the involvement of these two reproductive part, as it takes place in case of sexual reproduction, therefore it is called as amphimixis. But in case of apomixis, it is seen that the zygote formation, it does not take place, as the fusion of gametes does not takes place here. But how this happens? Now see, when we talk about the flowering plants, it actually undergoes three types of reproduction. The first one is the vegetative reproduction, where it includes the vegetative parts of the body such as stem, root, leaves, etc. But apomixis, or the asexual reproduction mode, it is different from that of the vegetative reproduction or vegetative propagation in case of the flowering plants. So let's learn how apomixis takes place, or how this asexual reproduction takes place without the formation of gametes in case of flowering plants. A very important point to be kept in mind here is that apomixis always leads to the formation of seeds without the process of fertilization. So this is a very important point regarding apomixis. That means we can say that apomixis, it is the incomplete step of sexual reproduction in flowering plants. So let's discuss it with these two types. The first type is called as recurrent agamospermy. Recurrent agamospermy, also this is called as apogamy. That is, it is the formation of seed that has an embryo formed without meiosis and syngamy. So here what happens, any part of the embryo sac, such as the egg cell, directly can form into an embryo, or the synergids, they can directly form into an embryo, or the antipodal cell or secondary nucleus. Any part inside the embryo sac can directly form into an embryo. And the example of such type of apomixis is the formation of a false fruit. So in case of false fruit, in the last class we have seen that the seed is developed, but that is not because of true fertilization. Therefore, the examples are apple, rubus, etc. Now, the next type of apomixis is called as adventive embryony. Now, what is adventive embryony? So, an embryo develops directly from a diploid cell other than the egg, like that of nucellus and integument. Now, when any diploid cell of the ovule, such as the parts which are outside the embryo sac, this can be nucellus, integument, chalaza of the ovule, when they can directly form into an embryo, that type of reproduction, it is called as adventive embryony, which comes under apomixis. So this apomixis, as it is a part of the sporophyte, as we know, ovule, that is the part of the sporophyte, therefore it is also called as apospory. And here we can have the examples as citrus, opuntia, etc. So because of this type of incomplete, or due to some genetic changes, when any cell, either from the gametophyte or from the sporophyte, they can directly develop an embryo without the formation of zygote, that is without the formation of zygote, then we call this process as a whole to be apomixis, and it is of two types, that is recurrent agamospermy and advent embryony. So a very important phenomenon that is resulted due to apomixis is a condition which is called as polyembryony. So in case of some plants such as citrus, tobacco, then comes dhatura, etc., there we can find more than one embryo within a seed. Generally, a seed will definitely have only one embryo within it. But there are some plants such as citrus where Leeuwenhoek, he discovered that it bears a polyembryonic condition. So what does polyembryony mean? When there exists more than one embryo that within a seed, that condition or phenomenon, it is called as polyembryony. And polyembryony, it is a type of apomixis. Now let's discuss how this polyembryonic condition can happen within a ovule or within a seed. Before discussing the different regions of polyembryony that develops in the seeds, you can have a look in the pictures here that how a single seed, it bears more than one sapling. So generally we see that from a seed only one sapling it comes out. But here in case of all these diagrams that you can see that there are more than one sapling which have come out from the same seed. So this condition it is seen in case of polyembryonic seeds. Now let's discuss what are the regions of this kind of polyembryony. Now let's discuss about the regions that why polyembryony happens. The first type of polyembryony, it is called as simple polyembryony, and this happens because of the presence of more than one embryo sac in the ovule. Now this particular condition of multiple embryo sac, so this may happen because of the formation of all the megaspores. That means we know that there are 4 megaspores, and when all these 4 megaspores they are functional and they forms the embryo sac. So that condition it is called as the tetrasporic formation of embryo sac. So when a particular plant, say for example Brassica, it develops the embryo sac from all the 4 megaspores, and in that case when different pollen grains they come and they enter the ovule, when from all the embryo sac, when all the eggs are fertilized by many pollen grains, then that condition it is called a simple polyembryony. Simply it possesses more than one embryo sac because of the functionality of all the megaspores within the ovule. Then next comes the second region, that is mixed polyembryony. Now this condition it happens because more than one pollen tube entering an ovule and fertilizing the synergids and antipodal cells from the same embryo sac. Here there is only one embryo sac, but from that embryo sac all the gametophytic cells they gets fertilized because of entering of more than one pollen tube with multiple gametes. So in that case also polyembryony can happen, and that is seen in case of a plant which is known as ulmus. Now the third type of polyembryony, it is called as cleavage polyembryony. So in case of cleavage polyembryony, where cleavage or splitting of one embryo into 2 or more embryos can take place. So say for example during the 64 cell structure of the embryo or 32 cell structure of the embryo, if the cells, those differentiated cells, they get splits up, so from those splitting ends also the embryos they can regenerate, and in that way also more than one embryo can occur within the same ovule. Examples of cleavage polyembryony are orchids, nicotiana, etc. And last come the adventive polyembryony. In case of adventive polyembryony, here when the embryos arise from diploid nucellar or integumental cells proliferate to form embryos. That means the diploid nucellar or the integumental cells of the ovule, when they divide and forms the embryo other than the egg cell, then that type it is called as adventive polyembryony, or that is the type of apomixis which is called as adventive embryony. So this type it is seen in case of the citrus fruits. So in all these cases what we have seen that more than one embryo have occurred within the seed. We have come to the last part of the chapter. So let's discuss about Parthenocarpy in details today. So we have already come across this word while discussing about the types of fruit. The word Parthenocarpy has come from 2 Greek words. One is Parthenos and the other one is Karpos. Parthenos means virgin and Karpos means fruit. So when the ovary directly develops into fruit without fertilization and produces seedless fruit, this phenomenon is only called as Parthenocarpy. For commercial purpose, parthenocarpy is induced in the plants of common fruits such as mango, lemon, etc. So let's see what are the commercial importance there. The seeds are generally the irritants during eating of fruits. So to eliminate the seeds from the fruits so that we get more mesocarp and the endocarp region which are edible can lead to commercial success. Then comes the second point, that is food processing industries will be benefited with the seedless fruit. So generally the extraction of the seeds while preparation of either the juice or any kind of food product, so that is generally a laborious work. So in that case, seedless fruits, they will be of great importance for such kind of industries. Generally, the parthenocarpy condition, it is seen naturally in case of grapes, banana, etc. Now, this particular condition, it is seen to be induced in such commercial plants such as grapes, mango, apple, etc. So this is done with the help of two hormones. One is auxin and the other one is gibberellin. So tomatoes, they are also made seedless. So tomato nowadays in some countries, so parthenocarpic fruits, they are being used where it is treated with auxin for preparation of the seedless tomato fruit. So generally here low temperature, frost and fog are found to induce parthenocarpy in pear, olive, chilies and tomatoes in some parts of the world. So this is all about parthenocarpy today and apomixis. So today we have ended the chapter with this topic, apomixis and parthenocarpy. Thank you.